We are going to be talking about vision. Yesterday we talked about crafting your mission statement, making it specifically. Mission is what you do, and vision is how you're going to accomplish that, how you're going to go about making that thing happen. What is it that you're doing specifically to help that particular group of people, or in that particular geography, or maybe it's not even people, maybe it's an economic thing or whatever else. And then your specific niche. What is the overarching wild level vision? That's a really great thing to identify at times, right? I think there's people like Tony Robbins who's like, I want to make sure that there's 1 million homes who are fed regularly. I don't actually know if that's Tony Robbins, but you've got some people there, they've got these huge goals. I have one of my coaches, her goal is to make sure that to have 1 million people read through the Bible in a year. And Summer, maybe you're going to end up watching these videos at some point, so if you are, I'm giving you a shout out because I think your vision is absolutely amazing, right? To read through the entire Bible in a year. And I think right now she's got 1 million people that she wants to walk through reading the Bible in a year. And so your vision can be this really big thing. I had another one of the organizations that already went through the academy, and we were putting their vision together. And they're a community-based organization, and they work in one city. And so their really large-scale vision is that there is nobody in the city who goes more than 24 hours having a need that is not met or connected with a resource. So they're a resource agency. They have a food pantry that connect people with a lot of resources. They have a clothing pantry. They have food tables and all these other things that they do for the community, which is really amazing. Been around for over 50 years. And so when we were crafting their really big level vision, it was that large scale, if they could make sure that there wasn't anybody in the city who had a need for more than 24 hours without being connected, that need being connected to a resource, right? Really big level vision. Are those things ever going to be accomplished? Who knows? If they are, awesome, they set the vision higher, right? I'm sure once people start getting close to that, they're going to be like, we need to expand the vision, right? And that's the cool thing with vision, is it can keep expanding, but it's setting a trajectory of, I am going this way. I'm going this direction. This is the direction that I'm going. This is where we're moving. It gives other people the idea and understanding to say, do I want to partner with that? Do I want to walk down that road? Do I want to be part of accomplishing that particular vision? Just because somebody aligns with your mission doesn't mean that they're going to align with your vision, the way that you're going about doing it, right? And your specific way that you want to help that people group. For example, if I said that I wanted to work with schools in Haiti, or I want to work with schools that are working with underserved populations, that might be my mission. My vision might be to have 25 schools in southern Haiti and to have no kid in southern Haiti is ever going to not be able to get the education that they want. That might be my big level vision. And I start talking to somebody and they're like, well, the mission I'm in alignment with, helping underserved populations to be able to have education in Haiti, but I'm actually really passionate about northern Haiti, and you're focused vision right now on southern Haiti. It starts to clarify, and okay, yeah, maybe we're just not in alignment right now. Totally fine, right? You're really passionate about this other area. We're passionate about helping this area. This is where our focus is now. Saying no is okay. Not working on the same thing is okay. And I really want to encourage you with that. Maybe that's one of those limiting beliefs that we need to overcome, is the feeling that we're wrong, we're bad, something's off about us if we don't align with everybody, right? And I've been guilty of that at times, where I'm like, I need to be in agreement with everybody. I need to be able to partner with everybody. I need to find a bridge and a connection with every single person. And although I can connect with anybody, doesn't mean that I'm supposed to work with everybody. Doesn't mean that they're a bad person or that I'm a bad person. It's just that we're given different visions, right? That's how we actually reach the world. That's how we change the world, is everybody stays in their own lanes, in their own things, and we can all be very clear on what it is that we're going to do. I think it would be great if there's one person who's really focused on bringing transformation to southern Haiti, somebody else is focused on bringing transformation information to northern Haiti, we can actually work on two parts of the country at the same time and recognize and appreciate that we each have our own work going on, right? We don't have to collaborate and partner if there isn't an overlap. So your vision, I want to get back to that. Vision is setting that trajectory. The next thing I recommend for people, and I really want to have you work on this, I want you to craft this as part of your homework, is to establish your 3-year vision. If you haven't already created your 3-year vision, I really want you to walk through this exercise with me. You can close your eyes if you want to, you can grab a piece of paper, you can pause the video if you need at any point in time. That's the beauty of videos, right? It's not a live training that you have to stop with, so pause the video if you need to grab a piece of paper. And I want you to picture us 3 years into the future. And we're no longer, I'm recording this video at the end of 2024, so if you're watching it at the end of 2024, you're going to picture us standing at the end of 2027, 3 years into the future. And we're looking back over the last 3 years. We've been working together, and we're looking back over these 3 years. What would have had to happen during those 3 years to make them the most phenomenal 3 years in your organization? What would have had to happen over those 3 years to make them the most phenomenal 3 years for you personally, for your own position, for your own place in life, your time freedom, and your ability to be able to do the things that you really enjoy doing and are passionate about doing and are gifted at doing in your organization that maybe right now you're not doing. Maybe you're operating more in your area of passion and gifting, and you've been able to bring on other people into the organization to be able to help take off the things that you don't enjoy doing as much or you're not as gifted at doing. Maybe 3 years from now, I want you to think about, where would you be at revenue wise? Where are you at right now? Where would you be then? What are the projects that you would have wanted to accomplish by that point? Looking back, saying we built this building, or we built this house, or we expanded this facility. We went from 3 vehicles in our fleet to 10 vehicles in our fleet. We went from maybe 2 staff to 20 staff, or 2 staff to 10 staff, or maybe we had 5 volunteers working in our organization and now we've got 30 volunteers working in our organization. So I really want you to just get in touch with 3 years from now. What is that picture? What does that look like? Where are you at? And we're looking back over the last 3 years. And if you need to pause the video here, again, that's totally fine. Write down whatever's coming to you of, here would be my 3-year vision. Then what I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, if that's my 3-year picture, that's where I'm moving towards, right? This is starting to say, this is where we're moving. We're starting to set a roadmap for the next 3 years. That's what vision is. Vision is saying, this is where I want to be 3 years from now. And then I want you to say, what things on this list, what are the 2 or 3 things that you want to accomplish in the next year? By the end of 2025, if you're at the end of 2024, what are the things that you want to watch, or what are the things that you want to accomplish by the end of 2025? Within the next 12 months, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you would say, in order for me to achieve that 3-year picture? To be able to have hold of that 3-year vision where I want to go, what are the 2 or 3 things that need to happen over the next year in order to be on track for that? The 2 or 3 things that you say, I really want to make those things happen. Those are your annual goals. So congratulations, you just set your 3-year vision, your 3-year picture. This is where we're going. And you set your 1-year goals. Here's our 1-year vision of what we're moving towards. Now, the power of this, again, goes back to planning. We talked about that earlier on this week, is that the 4 stages of planning, the 4 stages of fundraising and volunteer recruitment, the 4 steps are planning, presenting, gaining, maintaining. And so planning is this first step. We have to plan, where are we going? We have to set that vision. We have to set our goals. What's our revenue number? Where's our revenue going to be at? If we want to accomplish all these goals in 3 years, what does our revenue have to be at? Well, we've just set a revenue goal of what we have to fundraise towards. What are the projects that we want to accomplish over the next 3 years? We've just set a goal of what we have to fundraise towards, right? How many staff do we want? What are the programs that we're going to have? Are we going to add programs? Are our programs expanding? Are they staying the same? If our program is currently serving 100 people and we want to be serving 400 people 3 years from now, then we need to multiply our staff by 4 times or become more efficient at what it is that we're doing. And so that also helps me to know how many more volunteers do I need. That helps me to know how many more staff do I need to hire, which then relates back to revenue. And so it's setting this trajectory to say, this is what my organization is going to look like 3 years from now. We back that to 1 year. We now know over the next 12 months, here's our fundraising goal. Here's our volunteer recruitment goals. Here's where we want to be at the end of a year. And so this is incredibly powerful, this planning stage, because now when we're talking to people, we can actually tell them where it is that we're going. We can invite them to be part of the journey, whether it's as a volunteer, as a donor, as a partner, right? We can say, help us to accomplish this vision. Help us to make this thing a reality. This is where we're moving towards, and we're going to get it one way or another. If you want to be part of it, awesome. So vision is incredibly powerful. In Proverbs, it says that without vision, people perish. But with vision, people thrive. Organizations thrive. People thrive. We can accomplish things when we know what our vision is. And we can have that clarity to know. A couple other things about vision. One is related to people. When we have a really clear mission and a really clear vision, it will help to weed out the people that aren't supposed to be part of our organization. Doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that it's not part of our vision. And I've experienced this in my own organizations, that when you bring somebody in who's not in alignment with your vision, it becomes a mess. You have a lot of conflict, a lot of disagreements, a lot of arguments, and you start to, if you're not paying attention to it and catching it quickly, you start to have these own sub-organizations that start to form themselves within your organization and try to pull people in another direction. Again, it's not that that person's vision is bad, but they have to be in alignment with your vision for the organization if they're going to be part of your organization. I had one individual that when the earthquake hit in 2010 in Haiti, our organization quadrupled in size. It was actually pretty amazing. We went from a $200,000 organization to an $800,000 organization in less than 12 months. It was crazy. The growth that we were going through, we were doing some really amazing things. And like I mentioned in our last video, we had a lot of different things going on. We had youth programs, and we had stuff in Haiti and Albania and Kosovo and seminars and all these other things. And our organization was growing. We had an internship at that point. We had about maybe 10 interns that were in our organization, each working about 30 hours a week, volunteering their time and helping us, with what was happening in the organization. And we really wanted to grow and scale this internship program. The idea was that it would be a discipleship mechanism for the youth that were in our youth programs coming out of high school, being able to understand how to do ministry, how to give them the skill sets and the life skills that they need to be effective in whatever it is that they decide to do as they get out of life. So it's kind of a gap year thing between high school and moving on to college, or moving on to the workforce and moving into ministry. And we had created this really amazing program. But we realized when the earthquake hit in Haiti that myself, my dad, we weren't going to be able to continue to put the effort and energy into this program that we really wanted to, and that was required to grow it. We had to be focused more on the crisis response of what was happening in Haiti with rebuilding homes and medical centers and schools and all these other things. And our organization was skyrocketing at that point. And so we made the decision to find another leader, very capable person that had worked in different internships before and worked to lead these kinds of discipleship programs. And so we ended up hiring that person, moved them from Texas to Massachusetts, brought them on staff, and looking back, we should have seen it much earlier, but our visions weren't aligned. his vision of what he wanted to create in an internship program and discipleship program was working with very high level leaders, kids who had a lot of money, kids that were, it was a whole hodgepodge of different things, but really he didn't have the vision to work with the at-risk group of kids that were coming out of our youth programs, didn't see the importance of that, wanted to work with a different group of young people, wanted to run a very different kind of program. And again, it's not that it was wrong. It's not that it was bad. It just was not in alignment with the vision for our organization. And so what ended up happening is this individual created this whole other sub-organization, and by the time we wrapped our heads around it and we figured it out, there was a lot of bashing of heads and disagreements, and other staff were wrapped up in this different vision. And so he was creating a vision that was pulling the organization this way when our goal was to bring the organization this way. And so we were moving in two different directions inside the same organization. Another leader who really wasn't supporting the vision of the organization that was set forth by the leadership of the organization. And so it ended up being really difficult. We ended up having to ask this person to move on. Really difficult. This is 5 or 6 years in of working together on these programs. We tried to salvage the program and keep it going. We had invested hundreds and hundreds of hours into creating curriculum and teaching, and we had purchased a whole campus that was an 8-acre campus that was to be used for housing and everything for these young people to come to for a year and live at, and had staff that were covering things. And so there was a lot invested into this program. Tried to get it up and running, tried to get it brought back into vision, but it was so far off that we ended up just having to shut the entire program down. We had run this program for almost 10 years at that point, and ended up, because we brought somebody in that was not in alignment with the vision, we ended up having to shut this program down that we'd invested a lot of time and effort and energy and passion and money and everything else into. And so I can't tell you how incredibly important it is to define your vision and make sure that when you are bringing people into your organization, that they understand your vision, that they're in alignment with your vision, and that they're helping you move forward on that vision. And then the last thing I want to tell you about vision is this idea of gap management. And this is something that I learned a long time ago, should have applied more in this particular situation. But sometimes we have to go through the hard things to learn, and now you get to learn from my lessons. Gap leadership is the idea that we set our vision in a certain trajectory. We know that we want to go this direction. This is where we're going. And we need to recognize, if this is where I am right now, and I'm moving along towards this vision, if I start to get off track a little bit, it's much easier for me to deal with being off track way back here at the start and just a little course correction. Versus if I am even 1 or 2 degrees off back here, it's like a ship in the ocean. 1 or 2 degrees, if I keep going that direction, I end up in a whole different place than where it is that I wanted to go. And so the quicker that you can learn to catch those drifts and bring them back in alignment, and then you maybe start to drift and you bring it back into alignment. You start to drift and you bring it back into alignment. It's a lot easier to bring a small drift back into alignment than to bring a drift way over here back into alignment. And so I want to encourage you to have regular times with your leadership teams, regular times every year to assess your goals, your picture, right? That's why I like having this idea of, here's my overarching vision. Here's my 3-year picture. Here's my 1-year goals. And if you stick with me long enough, I'm going to even start to share with you how do you break that down into quarterly goals, or quarterly rocks is what I call them. How do you break that down into what do you need to accomplish this month, this week, today, right? So that every single month, week, day, year, you can make sure that you're catching those areas where maybe you're off track. You can bring it back into alignment with your vision again.